So I wanted to start with a common misconception that's floating around a lot out there. And it's that Stoicism can be summed up, there's a variety of different one-liners that people use. And so sometimes you'll see people saying Stoicism is the idea or the philosophy that virtue is the only good, vice the only bad, and everything else is indifferent. And you can actually find some texts where they say things like that. So, for example, Cicero's Stoic paradox, number one, only what is morally noble is good. Now, that doesn't say only virtue is good, but only what is honestum or kalon in Latin or Greek is good. So we're going to get into that. Technically, the Stoics think that quite a few things besides virtue and vice are good. So it's not as if you've only got these two things. They will say that friendship is good, for example, if it's the right kind of friendship, or things that have to do with your use of indifference is good. So we're going to explore that a little bit later on. These things do tend to be connected with virtue and vice, so it's not like they're totally off base in highlighting virtue and vice. But there, it risks some misunderstandings. That's what we want to study the text for. And I think there's no substitute for people who who are interested in the Stoics and Stoicism. There's no substitute for actually reading the primary texts and seeing what people say. What else can be good or bad? So virtue is good, vice is bad. This goes back to that original confusion. What else do the Stoics think can be good or bad? Your emotions. So a lot of things, like the Stoics, for example, think that anger is always bad. There's, you could say, well, what if you needed to get yourself, riled up against injustice? The Stoics would say you can do that without getting angry. There's never a case where anger is going to be a good emotion. But there are some good emotions. Joy, genuine joy, felt for the right reasons. The Stoics think that that is a good emotion. Affection towards other people, friendship, love, care, all of those sorts of things. Those are good emotions, provided they're still within the realm of rationality. Even fear, rational fear, they call caution. So, should you be so, I'm going in for this operation. You can have all sorts of things playing out in your head, like, oh, what if they give me too much anesthetic and I never wake up, and oh, my kids will never see me again, and blah 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 blah. Right? That's not a rational fear. I mean, now if I find out my anesthesiologist is a serial killer, then I could have a rational worry that I probably shouldn't go get that operation. That might be caution in that case. I'd be like, oh, that guy has a terrible track record. The Stoics would say that could actually be good. Actions can be good or bad, right? Actions typify virtue or vice. Friendship is a good thing for the Stoics. They think that you actually want to have friendship. Happiness is a good thing, and happiness isn't the same thing as virtue. It's connected with it. It's felt through it, but it's not the same thing. And they also talk about tranquility, freedom. These are also good things. So there's a wide range of stuff. And all the Stoics thought that you have a duty to protect your homeland, you know. Just like, you could say from a certain perspective, every relationship that you have is external, but that doesn't mean that friendship is not a good for them. So there's kind of, you could say, a bleed over. The Stoics think that we have a common human nature that is oriented towards living in community. And that's where justice is actually going to come from, or at least the origins of justice. And this is where a lot of people get Stoicism wrong. They think that Stoicism is this individualistic, thing. I withdraw into myself, and I keep everything else away because it's not true goods. Protecting, humanity in general and protecting your political community, that can be a good for them. It's now the distinction that Seneca's making there is more like some goods require us to do more work, and they involve courage to protect, courage in the different senses that we're going to look at. So I think that's how Seneca would address it. Would other Stoics go the same way? I think so. I mean, think about the practice of Cato. Got to save the Roman Republic, even if it means teaming up with a scumbag like Pompey against a bigger scumbag, Caesar. Or Marcus Aurelius. Marcus does, he's got to kill people on the frontier in wars. He thinks that it's important to keep the Roman Empire protected, even at great cost to himself. So those can be goods, but they're not going to be goods in exactly the same way that virtue in a particular person is a good.